If I were to meet those who kidnapped me, and even those who tortured me, I would kneel and kiss their hands. For if these things had not happened, I would not have been a Christian and a religious today. These words spoken by Saint Josephine Bakhita from Sudan should make us pause for a moment. She spent many of her years in slavery, and it was her relationship with Jesus Christ that set her free. Not many of us are literally enslaved, but all of us are slaves to some form of sin. Do we let these imperfections defeat us, or do we allow them to illustrate our longing and our need for Jesus? When Bakhita was 7 or 8 years old, she was abducted by Arab slave traders. Over the next dozen years, she was sold 3 times. The trauma of her kidnapping caused her to forget her own name. Bakhita is a name given to her by slave traders, which means lucky or fortunate one. Bakhita was first owned by a rich Arab man, and she served as a maid for his 2 daughters. She was treated well until the owner's son got mad at her and kicked her so hard that she couldn't move from her bed for a month. When she transferred to a Turkish owner, she had difficulty remembering a time when she didn't have a wound, stating, "When the wound from the whip began to heal, other blows would pour down on me." When military tensions rose, Bakhita's Turkish owner decided to return home. He decided to sell his slaves. Bakhita was sold to an Italian official named Callisto Legnani. He was very kind to her. When he had to return to Italy, Bakhita asked if she could come along. They traveled to Legnani's friend, Augusto Micheli. When they arrived in Italy, they were met by Micheli's wife, Maria. This encounter led to the transfer of Bakhita's ownership so she could serve as a nanny to Micheli's daughter. The Michelis and Bakhita lived in Sudan before returning to Italy. In 9 months, the Michelis sold their house and needed a place for their daughter and Bakhita to stay while they were gone. They were put in the care of the Canossian Sisters in Venice. This was the first time Bakhita was introduced to Jesus Christ. Those holy mothers instructed me with their heroic patience and introduced me to that God who from childhood I had felt in my heart without knowing who he was. When the Michelis returned, Bakhita refused to leave the sisters. A judge determined because of Sudanese and Italian law, Bakhita was never legally a slave. She was free. On January 9, 1890, Bakhita was baptized. 6 years later, she took her final vows and became a Canossian Sister. In 1902, she was assigned to a convent in Schio, where she remained the rest of her life. She was described as being gentle, always smiling, and as having a strong missionary drive, especially for Africa. At the convent, she worked as a cook, a sacristan, and a doorkeeper. She had a reputation for sanctity that helped people maintain a sense of peace when the Second World War brought bombs to their city. The end of her life brought holy suffering. As her body succumbed to sickness and pain, she would describe her condition as the Master desires. On February 8, 1947, the chains of this earthly life loosened, and she was fully free to be with God.